All right, we're back. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. Thanks for all the input from everyone.
Yeah.
Good
We,
stuff.
we actually ended on a question, so yeah. So Eric, he's asking, I have a question for you guys. How do you guys structure your scripts? Do you have a ton of scripts included into a master script? Do you know that question? Have you heard that before, Joe?
Yeah. Well, I have my main script is it's a little bit over 2,000 lines long. That's my main one that I have running well, I have several running all the time, but that's my main AutoHotkey.hk script. It has a lot of just different stuff that I've built into it, and then but it's things I always want to have running that also, because we've covered this in other, I think it was a webinar or it was a podcast.
We have done it in a webinar.
There are some things, like initially, like my little screen clipping tool, like this one, where I can grab this and move it and do another one, and then when I'm done, I can just get rid of them. That initially was in my main script, but then too many people were like, hey, that's really cool. I'd like to have a copy of that. And I kept having to go into my main script and parse it out and put it into its own thing. And then, of course, I didn't keep a backup of it. So things that I end up sharing with other people, I leave those in separate scripts. But things that are really unique and just for me, I put most of them in my main one, and then I have a second one, which is, this is my one to launch a lot of stuff. And then also, because I see Jean, I think he's still here, it'll look the same. This is quick access Popup, which of course I have a hot string for it. I'll put it in the chat here. It's a tool written by Jean Lalonde. He's on the webinar here. And it builds GUIs, and it's a great way to either insert snippets or have links to launch scripts or websites, or it does 80 million things. It does a lot of things.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, I'd say go and actually watch the webinar we have on it, where we actually try and have the pros and cons of having everything in one script or everything separated out.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
And it doesn't really matter if you do one or the other. The one thing that might be a point to it is if you make such a large master script that you can't keep track of what you're doing yourself, then of course it's a bad thing. As long as it gives meaning to you, the way you structure a large master script, then go with that. But if you're much more inclined to, as me, have lots of small scripts, then do that. I have a bad habit of writing something that I need and then storing it, giving it a great name, but maybe never actually returning to it, and the next time I need it, it's not running. And so where Joe is much better at actually having stuff continuously running at hand, and thereby having access to it much more easily. Yeah.
Well,
it depends.
And that was initially, like I said, this is mine that I used to make by hand, right, which was very, very time consuming. And then when I first saw Quick Access Popup, which this is it instead of that one, and I can come in here and I can say, oh, let's go in and add a new folder or a new snippet. I can just click buttons and do it. And I was like, holy cow, like that would have taken me 20 minutes easily, and I probably would have screwed something up while I was doing it. Versus with QAP, I can add it in seconds, and it works.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to show you was let me see. Let me open my folder. The other thing that I do, and I'm sure Jackie to some degree does this as well, is this is my working folder, where here are things that I've worked on. I keep very structured product folders and subfolders. And so these are like different topics I've worked on. And then I have under all my APIs, either different APIs I've connected to. And then under AutoHotkey functionality, right, then I have a bunch of stuff because I had too many subfolders, I started getting confusing. So I had to create another structure of, is it really kind of built-in functionality to AutoHotkey versus a script or a project that, I work on. And that helped me. It's funny because Dr. Cook, the guy he loves, what's it called? Everywhere or everywhere, everything is a search tool. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
but
oh,
I think it's
don't
everywhere.
remember what's called. Yeah, perhaps.
Everything. Okay. So but I never remember the name of my file, right? I don't think of it by file. I think of it by the topic of the folder. And so to me, I think of like, oh, what would that be classified under? And so for me, I couldn't use I tried it and it didn't work for me because I couldn't remember the exact name, but yet I could remember where it would be under. And so that wasn't for me. But if you remember the file name a lot, then everything is a great program because it can really quickly search through and find, what you're looking for.
Yeah, to me, for me to really store it, I need to, it'd need to be a real project, right? Where I used quite a good amount of custom code in it.
I'm laughing, Jackie, because I remember, I'm sure it's still the same way, but I remember this is years ago. You'd be sharing your screen. I'd look up, and in Sight, you'd have like 40 tabs open, and it's all different things that you've been working on. But like, yeah, I don't know if you'd even saved them. Like, I think they were all in possibly the same folder, but you're like, yeah, well, it's something I worked on. So I understand what you're saying it wasn't quote unquote big enough to have filed away. But that's generally like, so here's part of my learning process. That's part of my structure I'm really good at. When I don't quickly work on something and not create this folder, because it becomes mayhem, right, in a short time, and then you can't find anything. And so I forced myself to like, it only takes a couple seconds. I used to have a script because I worked in survey research, and I could hit a button and it would say, okay, what do you want to create? What's the folder name? And let's say it was ebooks, and it would create an ebooks folder, and then under that it would create questionnaire, a folder called questionnaire, a folder called data, a folder called maps, a folder called something, I forget, whatever, but you get the whole point. I had like 5 subfolders that I always created. Syntax and data. And it was like, hey, why am I manually doing this every time, right? And it allowed me to be quicker at staying structured in how I do stuff.
Yeah, I work at multi-million-dollar company, right? And they do projects all the time, and some of them are in the billions. And the project manager, leader, whatever you call them, they actually need to set up a project structure. And up until recently, it wasn't. Between projects, it was just mayhem. They might have about the naming convention something, but it was just anarchy. They just did what they felt like, and when people then afterwards needed like as-built documentation or whatever it might have been, it was just impossible to find the right stuff.
Right.
Because it was just all over the place. And it's just like, okay, so you got the project done, but now when we in-house actually need to take delivery of it, you can't give us what we need. That doesn't make sense. Please start more structured, so when you actually end, you have something of value to give to us. Yeah, it's just a thing of people starting badly and it ending kind of badly.
When I left one of my jobs, I quit. It was on good terms. I quit, but I was just done. And someone said, well, please go show Amanda, all your files. She booked like the afternoon to show me all the files and the projects and all the stuff. And so I went over there, and it was really like this, right? I'm like, everything has a folder with subfolders that are under, and it's all highly organized. In like 10 minutes, she's like, oh, I got it. Okay. Because I just didn't deviate, right? It was so easy because I'm highly organized when it comes to that. Same thing like my Outlook folders and subfolders, right? I try to organize things to help me stay on top of it. I saw, was it Eric, I think, said we need a boilerplate project to clone every time. Yeah, unfortunately, like, of course, with AutoHotkey, things change so much from time to time. right? I do have my when I start a script, I have my hot string to dump in my normal things that I use, which of course you can actually change that default template when you create a new script. You can also set that up in, I think, in Site, yeah, and also that in Studio to have that automatically be there. But that's as far as I've got, because also I have in my default settings, this is where I have other settings that I always want to have set. So that is my template.
Yeah, I do love how you do some of this stuff, and I also remember, what was it we had? Someone made script for sharing where it had this way of actually traversing your script and grabbing out all the functions that you needed within the snippet that you were. It's just lovely. It went into included files and all of that stuff. And today you have most of that stuff in Studio, right? Where if you actually want to share it, like publish a small snippet that you have where you've used functions from your standard library and stuff like that, can actually put all of it in the clipboard for you.
I was looking at some. So Jean, by the way, Jackie, Jean asked if anyone knows of a code parser that would allow get list of variables, functions, and classes. Didn't you have? I think you knew one that went through and got functions. Is that right? I think a couple of years ago you told me about one.
Perhaps right now, I don't know if it was. I was just talking about something that might have sounded in my head like what he was saying, but of anybody know of an AutoHotkey code Fraser that would allow get a list of variables, functions, classes, etc. I'm unsure what he exactly means by get list of. So
Are
isn't
you?
that what you have in Studio?
Yeah. I think he's what Studio will do when you do the what's it called? I always forget what it's called. Publish.
Yeah.
It goes through and pulls all the things. Is that what you're talking about, Sean? To go through and say, oh, this script has a couple includes that include certain functions and other files, and you want to go pull all those in. Oh, yeah. Actually, Studio does that automatically. I think you can see that, but you can see
Yeah,
the
but
functions.
if Studio really has a standalone Fraser that would do it, I'm not sure.
I'm sure Chat or Maestrius could build that if it doesn't.
Yeah,
With
I have
Cap,
a half.
which half?
Popup.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Captain, that means with we've seen him do stuff. That means, and by time he's actually finished writing that, he's finished it. Because usually he'll see a project and then work on it and then publish it before we're even done.
it produces half lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Eric, I saw your question about changing the default editor. I think let me see if I can find the one I have that will allow it. It actually goes into the registry and changes it. That one I'm trying to remember where I would have put that.
You wouldn't just make it very simple and right click on AutoHotkey script and say open with and just say always use this, or
Well,
what?
Yeah, I'm thinking he wants to be able to easily change the default editor. I thought maybe I misread.
Someone is already on it. I see.
Oops.
Yeah, those things are all around. People are trying to do that quite a lot of times. And in Studio is built in, you can simply just
Right.
click on the menu option. But again, it depends on which editor you're trying to actually switch to. We of course often use ZA or Studio for that matter. Really depends, but yeah, we use. Do you still use Studio as well, also, Joe? Or do
Oh yeah.
you ZA or
I only use Site for non-AutoHotkey stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I've switched over entirely. Oh, okay. So here, so if I hit Apps key and E, this will come up. These are the past editors I've used, right? And so I can just click it and then say set as the default editor. So this is the script I can share with you.
Isn't how about the actual AutoHotkey window? Doesn't it have the information?
The AutoHotkey window, the Studio window. What do you mean? You lost me there.
No, just you know, the normal AutoHotkey one. Use variables. You right-click the AutoHotkey icon and you can say view. Yeah, but I'm not sure if it actually has functions and stuff. But
no, I don't think it
has variables.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just because I think that window is always around, right? So you could just grab it from there with detect hidden windows. But yeah, I don't remember. It's just a short thought.
Mm-hmm.
Just AutoHotkey already has the Fraser, right? So
yeah, I can give you this script, Eric, or share it with everybody, right? It's actually let me see here. My normal one for pasting, because if I hit Windows C, it's supposed to put this onto the ahkscript.org, but I need to go check out what's wrong with it because it's not pushing it there. So I can't quickly. I guess I can go to the paste bin and probably post it there, right?
probably could.
Oh. And now, this is the URL? Is that right? I don't usually do this manually. So that's the one. Again, it's only going to show you what you've had already chosen between. It's reading your registry and seeing what was there before. And so it allows you to easily pick and choose between them. But I like it because I can say, oh, you know what, I want to make Site, which is somewhere in here. Oh, well, I can Notepad. Oh, here's Site. I can make Site my default editor, right? And then I can switch it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maestrius wrote this in like 30 minutes. And for me, I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I could just write a script for that. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. And he started doing it. I'm like, man, the thing with me with GUIs, right? The program itself was simple. I could have done that. Dumping it into a GUI and being able to pick and choose from it, that's the stuff that to me, I would have been there for a day.
Yeah. My connection is kind of unstable. I don't know what it is. I keep popping in and out, apparently.
I thought it was you that was unstable.
Yeah, just a bit, just a tad. Right, so. Yeah.
I'm waiting for us to disagree on something, Jackie. I don't think we've had any disagreements yet.
Not any big ones, at least. So yeah. Whose fault it was, maybe. No, I don't know. So.
Eric, there you go. Does anyone else have any? Any topics or things they wanted to cover? Anyone have anything want to share? Cat Moden, you got anything cool, or is Geek Dude still on? Yeah, he's on. Sometimes you guys are Dale. You have anything you've been working on or Jean? Anyone got anything fun?
Let us know, and we'll unmute you, or you can write it in the chat, whatever you want. I did see it, Geek Dude. Uh, of your new editor you were working on, right? I think you can find it as well if you look for it. Geek Dude is asking if you saw the image he shared.
No, I didn't. There's an image?
Yeah, it's at what, 23, yeah, something like that. 23rd minute in the chat. Should be able to find it there. Nah, I'm not currently cool. Nice. That's a good way of putting it. You shared a link to screenshot. I'm wondering why when I search the AutoHotkey forums, I often receive sorry, but you cannot use search at this time. Please try again in 25 seconds. Why is that? The forum is so busy, loaded. I wouldn't know, but my guess would be there's probably a limit on it because of spam or bots or people trying to whatever, bad things. That's just my guess, but I have no actual insight into why you can't search as often as you like. I did read the question, did I? I just answered it. Didn't I do that? I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and over the years, I've run into issues with it. I typically, I think I showed you one of my things, right? I have my I hit caps lock and S for my hotkey, and let's say I wanted to learn control, and that goes and does a Google search across the forum as well as Stack Overflow for what I typed into there, right? And I find that to be much more efficient way for searching both places than actually using the forum itself for searching.
I'd say I've happily used that same thing, and I've also used this search on the front page of AutoHotkey.com, and it's the same thing. It's a custom Google search on the AutoHotkey domains, right? It works quite well. Of course, it has a time limit. You wouldn't actually find something that was quite new, because the Google spider actually has to crawl the site before you'd be able to see the stuff on a Google search. But still, the general idea of finding stuff that's a few days old, it would work great. And yeah, I've loved doing it that way. People keep chatting, it seems. I'm wondering why. Yeah, that's the one. Here's the link again. So what is this, Greek Dude? That was you. It's his new editor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Maybe a first draft or whatever. I don't know which
Cool
version it is. But yeah, you know his quick tester, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's building something on the backbone of that somehow.
Yeah, he just wrote about it.
That
yeah.
about right? Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. More like Visual Studio Code.
Designed to work more like Visual Studio Code. Okay. I've never used that editor, but what is the main differences between that and an IDE that other
either Site or Studio, yeah, or Notepad.
Yeah, just to kind of know. Is it more easy for you to just speak?
Yeah, we'll mute you.
Yeah, just if you want to. It's up to yourself. Well, you unmuted him, right, Joe? He didn't actually answer if you wanted.
I'll unmute him anyway, because it doesn't. Oh, you there, Geek Dude?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Visual Studio Code is more of a generic editor than an integrated development environment. It's designed to work with a lot of different file types, and then you can get plugins that help you edit specific types. There are a lot of very good plugins for Visual Studio Code with AutoHotkey in mind.
Yeah.
But what I'm working on here, which I've called Adept, is designed in AutoHotkey with AutoHotkey kind of in the forefront. It's AHK first. So it's going to use the technology from my code quick tester, all of that, which lets it exist as a single script file, no external dependencies, allowing you to run code without having to go and set up file structures or anything like that. All of that's supposed to stay in place, but I'm expanding it to let it also work with more file types, let it work with scripts that span multiple files. You'll see in the screenshot over on the left, there's a little file pane that lets you browse the scripts in a folder and open multiple of them to work on at a time. I plan to do a lot of similar things to what Studio is doing, but in a more familiar interface, because a lot of people, they're like, why is AHK Studio better or worse than Sight for AutoHotkey? And my answer has always been AHK Studio packs a lot more punch, but the interface can be confusing to use. So this project is supposed to bring a lot of what makes AHK Studio great into an interface that's more familiar for people outside of the community.
Yeah, for me, I've talked to Mace with a lot about this, right? Because he detests menu bars. And I'm like, dude, you know, I hear you, but for noobs, for people that are new to it, it is tough learning, right? And if you were to just make some stupid menu bars at the top to just help people, a toolbar, right, just really helps people at the beginning understand stuff. Because I agree, it's not user-friendly, even though it is user-friendly, easy to use. But when you first look at it, it's not clear of what to do. Like the Alt-M isn't, you know, the pulling up that Omnisearch isn't obvious. And so how do people know to do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I figure that Microsoft, they have a lot of research and development people. They know how to make user interfaces that are easy to use. So I figure if I model my interface over Visual Studio Code's interface, then it might make this editor easier for other people to use. Visual Studio Code, it includes a lot of menus for a lot of things. But then in addition to that, it also has the same kind of OmniSearch that AHK Studio has. But I think the key point there is that you can discover functionality through the menus. And then once you know it's there, you can call up what you use often from that Omni menu.
It makes good sense, and yes, I still believe that an editor for AutoHotkey that seems simple and easy to grasp and to just look at will do quite a lot, because I still have this idea that the main bulk of AutoHotkey users are pretty new, almost like a mobile game where we have quite a few people coming and going and only a few people staying. So to have an editor that people could perhaps see more like Notepad, where the interface is not very noisy, but all of the functionality is there. I do believe that would be a good idea. Totally.
Another project I've been working on targeted toward these beginner demographics is CloudHK.com. I don't have a timeline for this project, but it uses some technology built out by Google to provide a drag and drop scripting interface for AutoHotkey.
Hmm.
Oh.
Do you think you could pull that up, Joe?
What did you say again?
CloudHK.com. There's still a lot of work to be done on it, but over on the left you have your blocks and your palette, and you drag the blocks in and it produces the corresponding AutoHotkey code on the right.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Neat. Yeah, this reminds me somewhat of Scratch. My son, it's was it from MIT? I think they have a visual way to do the stuff, and then it doesn't show you this. I wish it did. Maybe it does. I just didn't look. But this is a great, easy way to teach kids how to do stuff. Right? It's conceptually it's really easy to grasp.
Geek Dude, if, and I love this, if something like this ends up coming to pass, would it be possible to upload an existing script and then get the blocks in this manner?
That's something that I've been considering, but there are a few roadblocks in the way of that. The first one being that some of AutoHotkey's structures don't really exist in this environment. Things like classes or subroutines. There is a way to define functions with this. So code that only relies on functions could be brought in, but code that's really class heavy might not be able to. And the other roadblock that I've experienced with that is AutoHotkey is very difficult to parse compared to other languages. Things like C++ or HTML, they were designed to be simple to parse while still providing powerful tools for building programs. AutoHotkey, on the other hand, was designed to be simple to read, without really a focus on being simple to parse, because computers these days, they're very strong. You don't have to worry about, how many CPU cycles will this take to convert from my script into machine code. You can just rely on the computer's fast enough to browse through it soon. So I have done some work with kind of parsing scripts apart, but when I look at my code that parses through something like JavaScript and I compare it to my code that does the same thing for AutoHotkey, the AutoHotkey one is always much longer, much more complicated.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the strengths of AutoHotkey, but I can see why it's a deterrent on your side, right? Is that it's flexible, it's more flexible, it's not so precise. I can jump into it, I don't have to know what I'm doing because I can do it different ways, but it's sure not going to be very efficient when you run it compared to C.
Yeah, my guess is that because it's a what do we call that, softly written language, where you can not have a comma, you cannot end a line with something specific, and
or sometimes combine lines by putting a comma, and have the next line, which would normally be in the next line, be on the same line by separating with the comma.
Yeah.
Line combination is like the bane of my existence, trying to parse things.
Yeah. I hear you. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
But okay, it is. Both of those things are actually pretty interesting.
And then I saw Ryan posted something way earlier, and I didn't click to it just because we were in the middle of the webinar. But Ryan, I don't know if you're still on. I know it's real. No, sorry, he's gone. but it had to do with the return on investment, I think, of improving. So.
Okay, I'm looking at that and I'm not really getting it.
No. Tiny gains.
So
Yeah.
I totally get the concept of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If you gain a
if
little bit every day versus dropping, right, over time, it's like what do you call it with money, right? Compounding interest kind of thing, right? Over time, it really starts paying out. It takes time, but it really starts paying out. Versus if you're losing 1% per day, it just kind of keeps kind of fading away. But and here's the thing, right? We're all getting older and slower to some degree, right? It's you're better off learning a little bit every day than losing a bit every day.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing with AutoHotkey, right? I wish I had this in the deck. It's a great one of like, look, here's the thing: the payout versus the learning curve. The payout might be slow at first, but Jackie and I have lived this, and so have I think a lot of you guys. Over time, it becomes a multiplier, right? It's suddenly like I can crank out stuff so much faster because I have this vast, one is I learned it, but two is, as you've seen with the network of folders and stuff I don't have to start from scratch. I can go and pull from other things I've done and really, work on crank out stuff in no time. I didn't get it done in time, but I have, I don't know, around 2,200 people on LinkedIn that are first level connections with me that have AutoHotkey in their profile, right? I found a tool where I can do API calls and get the list of their skills and their job titles. And what I was going to do was loop over all of them and then put together a list and say, what are the skills, everyone who's in my network who has AutoHotkey in their profile somewhere, what are the other skills they've listed? And then what are the job titles they have, right? I thought that'd be a cool thing at some point to share. Maybe next month I'll have that data.
That is, I just find that interesting to look at, just to see whatever and a typical AutoHotkeyer would have as job title. I'm not sure we will actually find much correlation between the job titles, but still interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Did anyone have anything else they want to share? Back to which I wrote Jackie, and we were chatting earlier before the webinar. We didn't get to this topic. Tank, the guy from the forum, he's another admin. He lives here near me now. We're meeting for lunch Friday, and Jackie and I were talking about possibly, because he showed me, we were talking one time and looking at some of the metrics for traffic to the forum, and I was like, hey, maybe we can think of some ideas of like, what do we want to learn, right? What would we like to know and share with everybody, right? Because I don't think anyone's trying to hide it. It'd be really cool to kind of see where people are coming from, and then maybe where they're going to as the top ones. And then
I'd also like to know just those usual numbers, like how many unique visitors a day, and if it was possible, maybe even, because I've been saying it quite a few times over the years, that to me it seems like we're getting quite a few new people almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that the numbers actually show, or are people just lurking for so long before actually posting that maybe there ain't that many new people, or am I just seeing ghosts that are not there, where they might already have posted a month ago or 2 months ago, and this is their third post, and it just seems as if there's coming a lot of new people all the time, but it's just something like that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm having lunch with him. I don't expect to do this stuff then, but we'll see. See if he's open for sharing some of the traffic type stuff. So that might, I don't know if we'd get that done before the next webinar, but I think it would be kind of cool to be able to share that with a big group of people. The other one Jack and I talked about too was redoing our AutoHotkey user survey, rerunning it again, trim out some stuff, maybe add a few other questions, and just see if things have changed.
Yeah, it's almost, what was it, three years ago we actually made it? The last survey, right?
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. I had it on that. It was the very first webinar that we did. Was
and the results of that, yeah, to actually draw the winner of the Amazon gift card, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Back in what is that? May of 2016. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be
a while.
To see if there's been any changes in what people are doing with it, how long they've been using it. Who knows? I think we'll get a good response rate now that we have people from here, and I'm sure Tank would post it in the forum at a higher level. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully there are more women. Yeah. Actually,
that number was. Yeah.
Yeah. We did we just did a podcast. Oh, you know what? It's not. I don't think it's been released yet. But I think it's coming up. Actually, we'll be down here. I think it's the one after this. We recorded. Of course, Jackie and I try to be 1 or 2 ahead, so we don't end up losing a week. And we did one about why is programming in general, and besides AutoHotkey, why is it so male dominated? And I thought it was a really interesting conversation. We had some good data behind some of the stuff. Didn't necessarily explain stuff, but it was fascinating conversation.
Yeah. Are we about anybody have
anything else?
Topics? Yeah, seems like we're at a good point, perhaps.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for attending. Hopefully, it really, and I hope we didn't mislead anybody saying like, oh, we're going to teach you AutoHotkey really fast. That wasn't the goal. The goal is just to say, look, it really is. It's practice, right? It's structure and practice, and just with anything in life, have a clear, write it out, schedule it, and put it on your calendar and do it, right? And that is how you'll end up doing it.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Have a great evening or day, whatever it is for you.
Yeah. I'll have a great night.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.